Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Kanesha Lenore Jean-Baptiste, and it is my honor to be tonight's evening moderator for an amazing conversation brought to you by the NAAHP, the National Alliance for Advancement of Haitian Professionals. Before we jump into this conversation, I would like to spend a special thank you to our partners, College Cafe. I'm excited to engage with you all tonight. I am encouraged that you all are going to really grab some amazing gems from an extraordinary individual. We will be doing a author giveaway for an audio version of tonight's conversation, the book The Plan Was. So we ask that you all flood our social media sites today while we're having conversation with the hashtag The Plan Was Dr. Dady. Please make sure that you're adding it in tonight's conversation, and we will make sure that we look for an individual and we'll do 2 audio book giveaways. The holidays are coming up. We're cooking. We're taking care of family. So this is a great listen, especially as we go into the new year and we start designing what we want for our lives and ourselves. I want to introduce tonight's individual that it's an author, an extraordinary, now one of my sheroes, Dr. Dady. Dr. Nadege Dady is the Dean of Student Affairs and Assistant Professor for Torocom Harlem NYC campus. As the appointed Dean of Student Affairs, Dr. Dady provides oversight of the admission, registrar, and financial aid, as well as the alumni relations, student life, and activities on campus. Her collective experiences in healthcare, higher education administration, and student culture have well prepared her for this opportunity. Prior to joining Torocom in the area of student affairs, Dr. Dady worked in academic affairs at the Rutgers School of Dental Medicine and the Beth Israel Family Medicine residency programs. Complementing her experiences in higher education, Dr. Dady's doctoral degree is in higher education, leadership, management, and policy. Additionally, Dr. Dady served as Regional Director of the NYC Metropolitan Area Healthcare Centers and Director of the Beth Israel Family Medicine Education Program. Dr. Dady has served as the trustee of the Boys and Girls of New York in New York, New Jersey for 8 years. So I just want to say thank you to Dr. Nadege Dady for being here, especially present in the conversation when there is so much happening and so much going on in our world. Honestly, I knew you were phenomenal, and I assumed this was going to be another great conversation. However, in full transparency, when I read your book, I was so moved, especially as an individual who is seeking so much more in my life, so much more when it comes to empowerment. You made sure that you didn't just talk about the empowerment pieces, but you also shared the not so happy moments. So, welcome to you, Dr. Dady. We're happy to have you today.
Well, so first, thank you so much, Kanesha Lenore. It's been exciting to meet you and really share this space with you. Thank you so much also for the NAHP family. They work so hard. I really enjoy working with this group. I'm excited to talk to you tonight. Let's get into it.
Let's get right into it. So, I want to be honest because when I was reading your book, I was like, she's so transparent, so vulnerable, so real. And it takes a lot of courage and bravery to want to really invite people into our lives in this way. So, my question to you is what made you decide to write and expose your very personal experiences as you're trying to discover yourself and your purpose?
Right. And it's an excellent question. So during the toughest parts of my journey, I kept reflecting on the fact. So I'm a very optimistic person by nature. But as I was moving through the phases of life, I thought to myself, um, I'm not a person who gives up easy, but I can understand why people give up. I can understand why people distract themselves with other activities in order to move away from just how difficult it can be. So over the years through my journey, I just kept reflecting on that, and it dawned on me that really what we're looking for are tools. People need tools to continue on, stay on their path, and really move through the most discouraging parts of their journey. And so really that's why I wrote it. It was a love letter to my younger self. It's an additional love letter to those in the struggle. I understand it. It is very real. and can sometimes be really lonely and isolating. So it was meant to help others.
Absolutely. Oh, you know what touched my heart listening to you speak is you said it was a love letter to my younger self, right? A lot of times we go into spaces of advocacy where we're working with young people. And a lot of the major work for us to show up fully is to actually have those conversations with our younger
Mhm.
selves, right? Whether
Mhm.
it's through journaling. So, what is something you wish your younger self knew on this journey? Like, what do you wish young Nadege before she was Dr. Dating, all the accomplishments, that young Haitian girl? What do you wish that she knew?
I would have told her not to be so scared. I would have told her, don't worry about it. You didn't mess this up for yourself or for others. That this is a part of the process. And really, all these difficulties and challenges that you're experiencing are going to grow you into the person that you need to be. So have more fun. Enjoy yourself a little bit more, travel, exercise, do all the things you want to do without having to look over your shoulder so much. And that's part of the reason is that we move through challenges sometimes. And as optimistic as a person as that I was, the anxiety of not meeting your goals or not achieving something that you really wish to achieve really can look so boxed in. Like there's only one way to achievement, or there's only one way to really self actualize. But that's not true at all. There are so many options that we can relax into it. And really, I would tell my younger self, embrace this moment in time. It's okay. You'll be fine.
So when I was reading your book, and I want to encourage everyone to get it, even post this conversation, you were so welcoming to the things that didn't feel comfortable. You were so welcoming for the things that didn't even seem right. And I think that as humans, like that's where we get hung up, right? That's where we kind of, this doesn't feel good. I want to run away from this experience. And
Mm-hmm.
in many chapters, I read you welcoming this experience. I want to quote something that you said. You said, these challenges seemed custom made for me. Creativity in particular made me a stronger administrator as I consistently trusted my instinct to find answers. So my question to you is, how does one know the difference between their intuition, like I'm called for this moment, versus their wants, right? Like you want this thing, but it might not necessarily serve you. How
Mm-hmm.
did you know the difference?
So I'm really big into defining things. I love definitions. So intuition is really an understanding something immediately without having to consciously reason with it, right? Whereas a want is much more related to a strong desire. God, I want that ice cream cone. I want that particular path. And it's very quick, and there's all this reasoning and thought that goes behind it. They're very different experiences, actually. Instinct is so much more related to a soul knowing, something that you just understand intimately. No one has to explain it to you. And I think that once you're in those moments, you will know as well. Because they felt like such different experiences to me. You kind of just have to embrace it. And I would have to say, just a follow up comment to that, it was not easy to welcome those challenging experiences. I wrote it in a book, so it seems very much organized and neat. It wasn't. It was very messy. But one of the things that I did was I sought out the tools to be able to manage the situation. And in seeking out those tools, what I recognized that it would have been a much easier route for me to embrace it rather than to fight it. And so I encourage people to seek out those tools. No one knows all the answers. It's not perfect. Again, it was very messy, but you have to dig deep, especially if you're looking to press forward.
You have to dig deep, especially if you're looking to press forward. I hope those of you that are on this call today, we're all on our journey, that you actually pull some of this wisdom that is being shared with us in this moment. So I want to go into some of the chapters without giving too much away from the book. But you discuss missing your friend's special day,
Mm-hmm.
her wedding day. And that
Mm-hmm.
is huge when you think about your sister friends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where I would be without my best friend. This is monumental. And this was a huge day for her. And okay, so often in conversations regarding relationships, friendships, or even like romance, people are oftentimes saying, like, you make time for what's important to you. I hear that all the time, right? And sometimes, my friends are important to me. However, right, I have other things that I have to tend to. How did you or do you manage the importance when deciding between those that you love, but then also like your career, your purpose, your calling, really just measuring the things for all the stuff that you want to have the time for, but just simply don't?
Yeah. So I love that question. And you're right. It was a monumental moment in time. So, luckily, on the journey towards accomplishment, so that was a very unique experience. I was scheduled to take the medical college admission test. And back then, you had to schedule it months in advance, you pay a fee. So, I had not known that the wedding was coming up, right? And when I did realize the conflict schedule, I immediately sort of doubled back, and we had that conversation. So it was a very unique moment in time that doesn't happen all the time. It was a specific uh, example of a scheduling piece. Other times that might come up is if you are in school pursuing a heavy curriculum, that will also create challenges around schedule. But outside of that, once a person moves into the professional world, the work world, you have a lot of control. And one of the ways that I approach balance is I make time for everything, meaning I schedule it out. So if we've got 4 weekends in a month, 2 months out of those two weekends out of the month are for family. 2 weekends are about my purpose, my career, or doing something that I enjoy or that has nothing to do with work. So I schedule everything out, including exercise, eating healthy, eating right. It's all about taking an active role in the things that you perceive as important to you. And that includes friends and family. I take my relationships with friends and family very, very importantly. And so that's how come I make the effort to schedule and make sure that we get that time in. So it's about an active, workable approach to what you need to do. I don't leave anything to chance because the truth is you look up, it's a year later. You look up, you're in a different time zone, or your life has changed, or something like that. So it's very, very important to be actively engaged in the things that you want to see for yourself.
You know, what I really love about listening to that is because I'm a planner by nature. Like, I make planners and I send them over to my girlfriends. And there was a season in my life where I felt guilty planning self-care or planning family time. But
Mhm.
listen to you speak, it actually causes more harm when we don't have a plan.
Correct.
It's right. We need to be more intentional. So it's okay to say, okay, this weekend is my girlfriend's. And then the following weekend, it's okay to say, you know what, y'all, I got to worry about what I got to do in my career, in my purpose, in my life, whatever that looks like. So I just want to thank you for giving folks in the audience permission. Plan that thing out. That's how we
Absolutely.
become intentional for it. So that is actually profound. I wanted to jump into something because listening to you, Dr. Dady, again, phenomenal, phenomenal book. I cannot wait to folks actually read it and share your reviews. Please go on Amazon and share your incredible reviews and your experience reading this book. But there is a part in the book where you share about a college advisor discouraging you from going into medical school. But
Mhm.
then you actually had a conversation with your peer and you learned that this may have been a practice that was taking place towards the more we'll say melanated folks.
Mm-hmm.
And we know historically people of color and oftentimes even women are denied access to higher achievement when it comes to purchasing property or homes, going into education system, career fields. We know that women are being paid less for the same work. How did you navigate working through chasing your dreams? Because you have huge visions that you shared with the audience through, but the glass ceiling is racism, microaggressions, sexism. How were you able to work through all of the isms that try to hold you behind?
So, and the reason why I love that question is because the reality shows itself in my path. So here it was, I thought this advisor did me in. It was done, it was a wrap. But my faith, and that's one of the things that I actually lean on very heavily, my anchor is my faith. Through my faith, I said, you know what? There is more for me. I didn't know what the plan was, but I had faith that I just had to keep going. And here it is, years later, I'm managing opportunities for students to get into the healthcare field. So God was like, you know what? Joke's on them. It's not on you. And so I do believe that we can all be used in the ways that we are intended to. The key here is not to give up on yourself. And the other things that I've learned through the years of just continuing to be this positive professional is that through socialization, you really do come to understand there's a lot of different avenues. We sometimes get again bogged down by thinking there's only one pathway to get to a particular place. That's not true at all. That's actually a lie. There are so many different ways to go around the ceiling, and there are now, thankfully, so many more women who have advanced professionally and creating opportunities. It's just important to consistently keep moving forward positively, growing, learning, and then the answers will come to you. There's no way to predict this. I would have never, ever been able to predict that for such a deviation from my original plan. Look at where I ended up, you know, in
Mhm.
administration at a medical school in New York City. So I think that for me, it's less about worrying about what those ceilings are and making sure that you are consistently connecting so that you can find those loopholes, those ways around what where you need to go, and really just being happily surprised. Keep room available for those happy surprises.
Keep room available for those happy surprises. That is so profound, right? Because essentially, what I gather from what you just shared with us is that we're more than the systems that try to hold us behind. Your purpose is your purpose.
100%. a
Yeah,
100%.
your
But
purpose
you've
is your
got to
purpose.
believe that
Hmm.
that is true. You've got to really believe it. See, that's half the battle, because one person's perception of me, or and his lack of vision for me
Yes.
could have been the end of my story if I believed that he was the end all and be all. But you have to believe that you are more than the things that try to hold you back, the people that try to hold you back, the
Hmm.
systems. It's gonna happen, but you really got to find your way to center and towards your faith, towards your anchor. Hold on to that belief system.
Oh, that is so profound because, if I want to be honest, I struggled with that portion of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was a portion where when you were discussing, you were like, then I'm going to get a tutor and then I'm going to study harder. And I'm like, but these systems, these things that come into play that tries to hold us behind, you still like trailblaze through that. What is that?
I want to go into that for a little
Mhm.
bit, because
Yes,
you said,
please.
you got a tutor and you struggle, you want to study harder. But the truth is, and I find that there is a perception out there, that this pathway was harder, when it's not true. If you analyze Beyonce, the singer, she's
Yes.
probably been working her behind off since she was in grammar school. As a matter of fact, we know this is true because there are videos of her, right? So
Hmm.
she's been consistently going at it for a very long time. Thankfully, she had the loving support of her family. You
Hmm.
look at LeBron James, look at how hard he trains. There is no pathway that you pursue where you're going to get this easy meal ticket. There's no elevator to the top. It really does require hard work and consistency. And there's a reason for that, because when you get to a point, you can look back and say, you know what? I earned that. I worked my tail off for that. So I had to experience that to understand that, you know what? No matter what, you can pursue a different route, because the other option would have been just to give up. And who's looking to do that? That's not the story I want to share with the NAHP audience, right? That wouldn't have been a story. But the fact that you continue, you persist, you say, I'm just going to keep going. And whatever that next thing is, it's going to show up.
Mm. That's very powerful. So belief, consistency,
Mm,
and working hard. Those three tools right there. You first got to believe you could achieve it. Then you got to work hard. But in your working hard, you got to be consistent. And
correct.
that is so profound because, and I love that you brought up the individuals that you brought up, because one thing about Beyonce, I think it's easy to see like Beyonce, but I do remember seeing a video of her father helping her having like heels on, and she's running through the treadmill with her heels on. And now we have this mega star who sings, and you can't even hear when she's taking a breath, because she's been working for this opportunity, because she believed that the opportunity was going to come, and she was
Absolutely.
consistent in her working for it. And we
Correct.
all can do that in our lives. We just have to measure what's the belief, what are the things that we believe in, and be consistent towards that, and actually work for it.
Right. And
And
not allow the blockages or the system to really define your end story. It's not the
yes, it's not the end. Oh, that is such a gem. I mean, and you know what really resonated with me personally, as someone who had a certain dream and then things showed up differently. um I read how you talked about you had this challenge with this individual, but now, and you brought this up in your conversation, like now you're also responsible at a high level, something very similar, for making sure that people are able to engage into the medical field. So you essentially became the very individual that you needed. You became the
correct.
resource. You became the person. So my
Does
question,
not God have a sense of humor? I mean, it's the most
funny,
ironic tale ever.
funny, right? And then also like the grace, and then the opportunity to, like, I want you to see all the spectrums of this, so that when you show up in your power, you're not abusive of it, right? Because
Correct.
now you
Correct.
have the power. So my question to you is that, really, if you could talk to your younger self after her dreams were deferred, right? So after things didn't feel good, and after things really were sucky, and you're like, ugh, what would you tell that version of yourself? Not just the younger version of yourself, but maybe the version of yourself that may have been defeated at some point.
Right. And I have thought about this a lot. I think um I wouldn't have done it any other way. We have to experience the light and the dark to understand the full spectrum of life. I read this book one time by T.D. Jakes called The Peaks and the Valleys, and it's really about the ebb and flow of life. That there are times where life peaks, meaning there's highs, and then there are times when there's valleys, low points. And that's real. So life doesn't teach you any lessons if it's always a beautiful, bright, sunny day. You do have to understand what challenge looks like, what discouragement looks like, for you to know, number one, how to encourage others, number two, how to um, pull the tools that you need personally to move yourself through situations, as well as um, find the gumption and the strength to keep moving forward. So I don't think I would say anything different, because you have to experience both spectrums of life. You really do. And it makes you a more well-rounded individual that can speak to the issues that others go through.
Ah, because that's the thing now, right? Let's talk to our younger selves. You're saying, no, I want my younger selves to experience her humanity in totality. I wouldn't even interrupt that.
You
Uh,
can't. Not even if you try. You can't. It's a part of the journey, an important part, if I could put it that way.
that is so much grace towards the things that don't feel good.
Mm.
Like that, I know that anyone who's listening to this broadcast, and uh I wouldn't say anything. I'd let her experience it because she's worthy of knowing the totality of the situation.
It's true. Life just really is a consistent ebb and flow of experiences, and so now you're not afraid of them. You embrace them. Okay, we're making a little turn. How do I work with this? What tools do I need? It really does make you a much more enlightened individual, and you can help others through the things that they go through. It's really wild. Life is just so wild. Today, someone gave birth to a child while another person buried their child. The
Mhm.
I mean, both experiences are happening at the same time. In one part of the world, we're celebrating Veterans Day. In another part of the world, there's war between both sides, and people are trying to find homes. This is a wild experience.
Mhm.
Like, what are you going to do with all this? You have to understand your humanity so that you can understand other people's humanity.
That is profound because this reminded me of an interview I recently watched with Anderson Cooper. And in the interview, they're talking about being grateful for the moments that didn't feel good because that means you were alive to experience them. And
Deep.
that, yeah, that is so, that shifts, right? Like you said, right now we're celebrating veterans and we're making some, or someone's building a casket and someone's giving birth. And that is profound. And I really love that because no, we should not interrupt the challenges. We should welcome them so that we can experience the totality of our human experience. And that is what this book is sharing with its readers. Um, Thank you for that. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you for that. So you are a full human being in nature, and you also been in love. And I want to talk about that part because it's easy for us to get caught up into the career part, but I
Hmm.
really want to talk because you discussed a romantic relationship that ended. And when just reading it, I mean, for those of us that have experienced heartache, I understood. I understand what you felt. I understood when it was
Hmm.
happening. There was times I was feeling like, am I reading Dr. Dady's experience or just mine? Who was in my house reading my
Hmm.
journal? And
Hmm.
I want to talk about this because we talked a lot during this conversation about intuition and knowing intuition. And sometimes I'm like, I wish my intuition was a little bit louder. Did you ever ignore parts of yourself and intuition in the name of love? Like just so that you can experience that? And what have you learned in that experience?
Yeah, very deep experience. I don't know if I ignored part of myself as much as I was naive about the world around me. And so there's this thing about naivety where you just sometimes assume everything's going to be all good, right? Like, oh, this is love. It's got to end in the right direction. No, actually, it could go really, really bad. So I think that although we get caught up, sometimes women get really caught up in the romantic nature of love. What we have to understand, going back to really traditional roots, that love is based on a foundation of uh, real simple mutual respect and caring, and a desire to see our community grow. And so when we get away from those things, those are the places where we then deny ourselves the truth and the reality of what we're looking for. So what I learned through that experience, as difficult as the disappointment was, it reconnected me with what I was truly looking for in love. So I said, this stings, this is painful, but at the end of the day, I knew very clearly what I was looking for, and I knew that eventually that wasn't it. Um, and again, that was another place. I couldn't avoid that. I had to grow out of that naive vision for love to an understanding of what does it mean really to love another person, for the other person to love you, and what does that mean for our collective community? How does that help us to grow? How does that help us to um, sharpen each other's knives, or irons, and really make us the people that we need to be? So it taught me a lot. I would have wanted another experience, but you can't avoid these lessons. They are important to us as individuals who who want to positively give back. And you can only positively give back through really learning the lesson in its entirety. Um, but it's a sensitive area. Love is just so it's profound, it's deep, but it can be also complicated because we're not in it by ourselves. You're with
Yes.
a completely other individual who is also having this life experience, and you wish and pray for good things, but as you can clearly see in today's world, that's not how it sometimes ends up, sadly.
Mhm.
But luckily, I learned really so much from that disappointment. It clarified my vision from then point on.
Absolutely. When I was reading it, like I said, I'm not gonna give too much away. But the individual that you were in a relationship just reminded me so much of that first heartache many of us experience. There's certain personality types that some folks have. Um,
Hmm.
did you walk away from the experience like jaded? Like, how do you feel now? Like, do you feel like
No,
nervous
no,
about
no.
love, welcoming?
Right. So it was a while ago. So at first um, I was completely devastated, and it took a while for me to really gather myself. As I stated, I'm an optimistic person by nature, but it took me like 2 years to really get over it, fully just move beyond it. And there were other experiences after that, but what I did from that point forward was the things that I learned. I started to really say to myself, okay, let's look at this clearly. How would you define what it is that you're looking for? And so I walked away with very clear vision of what it is that I was searching for in terms of love.
Mhm.
So really it was a lesson, and I did my best not to stay in a jaded space.
Mhm.
Although if you talk to a lot of people, they'll tell you the dating scene is absolutely nuts. But I have stronger faith in God again, than in any system that seems to be breaking down.
Absolutely.
I truly walked away saying to myself, um, I want someone to look at that, see themselves, and say, okay, she did bounce back.
Mhm.
Okay, she did walk away from this and continue on, and pursue what she was looking for. So I don't give up that easy. I don't
Yeah.
like to sit in a space of jadedness. So
Mhm,
I worked through it. That's
mhm,
exactly what I did. I had to work through it. And so I pulled on those tools. I read, I talked, I vented,
mhm,
anything I could do to really move myself beyond just the disappointment.
mhm. Okay, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to talk like two girlfriends at brunch.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a planner as well. And I don't know if it's the Haitian in us that's like, okay, I need a detailed plan so this thing can come out the way I need it to be. But I know when I wanted to attract my husband and when I wanted him to find me, I actually wrote down the things that I wanted in the mate.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel like that's necessary, a waste of paper and pen? Just, I would love to know your personal thoughts regards that.
I do believe in the power of writing things down, but again, the issue of what are we meant to go through. So,
Hmm.
as an example, I wrote down those qualities I was looking for, and I attracted that person.
Hmm.
So I was just like, oh, so the person can come in the way physically, but emotionally, there's something else that has to
Mm-hmm.
guide this process. So I don't have a particular vision for whether someone should or shouldn't. Our
Hmm.
experiences are our experiences. There was something else I was meant to learn through that opportunity. So I think be as detailed as you want to be as focused, plan, but then if it goes left, just know, you can get back on your feet and keep going.
Yes, I appreciate that. I loved hearing that. When reading your book, there was so much perspective. Like you were very intentional of how you viewed things, and that I think is extraordinary to the human experience. We need to have perspective of how we go into the world. You were also very creative too in a lot of the things you did and how you navigated spaces, and your creativity landed you in a position to serve people in underrepresented communities. So now you're here and you're actually able to be either that gatekeeper or the individual that opens the gate and welcome folks. So, in your opinion, do you feel like mentors are critical to the path of success? Because you kind of play that mentor role, especially when
Hmm.
we talk to communities of color.
I think mentorship is absolutely critical. In my own journey, I've had both official and unofficial mentors. So I had a specific mentor during the pursuit of the academic doctorate, which was she was a lifesaver. Throughout my career, I've had unofficial mentors, people who saw my talent and would say, "Nadege, pursue this," or "Nadege, look into this, please think about this." And they were so phenomenal because they brought that positive sort of encouraging, delightful sort of activity into my life. So mentorship has been 100% beneficial in my pathway. When it comes to our larger communities of color who are trying to access either higher ed or additional achievement, it's even more critical because there are things we don't need to reinvent the wheel. There are things that we can avoid, and we can say that our experience is very unique because of some of these systems that we're having to navigate. So I think it is imperative to have mentorship, because that way the mentor can play both the role of helping a person navigate these systems that we're going through while also keeping you on track to achieving your goals. So I think mentorship is key. It's a big portion of how people of how people really go from point A to point Z. If you ever take a cross section of all these people that you know who have accomplished a great deal, they will often talk about a mentor in their life who was pivotal.
Absolutely. So mentorship is key. Huh. That is something I feel like that's so impactful. Do you think that, because I know that in the education space, folks are looking for mentors, advisors, and sometimes that comes with the institution. Do you think mentorships is as critical, like post that experience? So maybe you're an entry level worker. Should you look for a mentor as well?
I believe in mentorship throughout the entire experience, whether you're in school and you're looking for a tutor or mentor, someone to sort of navigate that academic journey, or you're an early professional who wants to chart a particular course of advancement. Mentorship can really help someone avoid certain mistakes. Now, what's great about this time period is you have the internet, you have many more books at your disposal. So there have been people who have sought to document their journey and really document those opportunities for learning from certain experiences. So if someone can't access a mentor, you can always go to a really good self-help book. You know, that wasn't as popular 20, 30 years ago. So there's a lot of access and opportunity. You just have to really be intentional about seeking some of that mentorship.
See, yeah, that's impactful. So, if you are an individual on this call and maybe you don't have access to kind of mentor in your field, or maybe you may not have, maybe if it's funding, if it's like a life coach or however that looks, going online, reading this book, going into different spaces so that you can actually access the mentor. I really appreciate that, Dr. Dady. And I just also want to share for those that are live on this broadcast, we do have 2 audiobook giveaways. Again, I'm saying the holidays are coming up. We're going to be moving around, decorating, and cooking. So it's a great listen. And we want to give this giveaway to 2 individuals who are on this live broadcast. Please use the hashtag the plan was Dr. Dady. Hashtag the plan was Dr. Dady. Hashtag THEPLANWASDRDADY for your chance to be entered to win an audiobook. I'm telling you all, this audiobook has been very transformative for myself, especially as an individual, a career professional. So if you are on this live broadcast, we would love to be able to gift you this holiday season with a free copy audio version of this book, but we need you all to use the hashtag. Also, I want to share that everything I just shared in the hashtag is lowercase. So please make sure that if you did submit the hashtag and there was some capitalization, to do it again so that we're able to see it on our end. So, Dr. Dady, I have another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
I really love the perspective. I really love the endurance that you have. That fight. I would debate that some of that is Daisy in you. Like, we are fighters. But what I want is that there is an individual who's possibly watching this broadcast and they have given up. Their dreams
Mm-hmm.
have been deferred. They're reading that Langston Hughes poem over and over again. And they're just sad about life not, ending the way that they wanted it to. And I can say, as an individual who had a set desire for my own career, when that didn't work for myself, I know the feeling of defeat. If you
Right.
could say anything to a person who's watching right now and they feel like their dreams have either been deferred or ended, what encouraging words do you have for them?
Um, and thank you for that question. I think that's real. There are a lot of people who give up. What I would say is take a pause and go internally. You know, I was mentioning earlier that my anchor is my faith. If that happens to be your anchor as well, reconnect to the core center of you so that you can find what you're looking for by way of answers. In sometimes the answers come to you. Sometimes you're called to go on a particular journey. And I would say reconnect with the core center of you so that you can find inspiration. I have no way to tell. I don't have a crystal ball for what the next step is for anyone that's out there. But what I do know is that we can all be used in positive ways. And just because a dream is deferred or delayed or uh, refocused, changed, that doesn't mean it's over. But sometimes we have to reconnect internally to understand what we are called to learn through the experience. There's just so many avenues that you can pursue. What I would say is really just reconnect with yourself and don't give up. Reconnect with belief, reconnect with your anchor and belief systems, reconnect with the core center of you that's looking for inspiration, and let yourself be guided. You know, if that means you're being guided towards additional qualifications, so be it. If that means you're being guided to move in a particular direction or connect with a particular group, so be it. You don't know what's out there. But as long as you consistently, positively move forward, something new will come along.
So keep going, y'all.
Keep going.
Keep going. That is so profound. So before we go into any final questions or thoughts, we want to do a giveaway. So we hopefully our team is prepared. Let's do some drawing to see. Again, the hashtag is the plan was Dr. Dady. Come on, y'all. Let's flood social media with this hashtag. 2 audiobooks will be given away during our conversation today. And let's go. Let's do a drawing. Let's see who's going to be the receiver of our first book. Winner.
Oh,
Yes.
congratulations.
Congratulations to Chris L14. You will be receiving, we'll be reaching out to you to send you the code so that you can have your free copy of The Plan Was, a story about perseverance and promise. You will be receiving access to an audio version of the book, and that way you'll be able to listen to it, get empowered, especially as we start reimagining how we want our next year, 2024, to go. I love this. Dr. Nadege Dady, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience? Anything that comes to mind, your heart right now during this conversation?
Um, I know life can be tough, but believe in yourself. Believe that in the power of life. Believe that there's an energy that can move you forward. Just pursue your dreams and your desires with, although caution, but with encouragement that no matter what, you're going to be guided to a place that will serve you. Just keep moving forward, y'all. Really, keep moving forward.
That is profound. Keep moving forward. Thank you again, Dr. Nadege Dady, with all the beautiful things that you have accomplished. We are so thrilled and thankful. I know that I am to be able to have such a conversation with such a phenomenal individual. I thank you for being here today. We thank you to everyone that has jumped on to this live broadcast. And we thank you if you're just listening to it again, right? So maybe this is a few days later and you are listening. We are just happy to have you all. I want to share that we were going to give 2 book giveaways. So I know Kristen L14, you will be receiving the digital code for you to have access to the audiobook. And then the second individual, we will select you on the back end and we're going to reach out to you and make sure that you have access. I believe we have a Brenner BJ Jean. I'm just assuming it's Jean because we're on a Haitian network. But if it's Jean, I cannot wait. We're going to make sure that you all have access to this incredible novel about perseverance, about promise, about purpose. Dr. Nadege Dady really goes into her experiences. I want to also thank our partners, the College Cafe, for making this live and possible. Thank you all for your time. Again, my name is Kanesha Lenore Jean-Baptiste, and it has been a pleasure just being in community and being space with you today. And again, thank you, Nadege, Dr. Nadege Dady, for such an
And
incredible
Lenore,
conversation.
thank you. I felt like we were friends at brunch. Like you said, this has been phenomenal. Thank you so much for the space to discuss this with you. All the
Absolutely.
best with the babies,
Yes.
and with life moving forward. Again, this has been great to discuss this with you and the NAHP audience. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Forward and onward. Thank you all. Goodbye.
Take care. Bye.